Hello, my name is Dino Truant of Roman Real Estate Services here in Calgary, and I'd like to welcome you back to our 6-part video series on purchasing commercial real estate. Welcome back my guest, Harold Fast, Assistant Vice President of Commercial Banking of Canadian Western Bank here in Calgary. Harold, thanks for coming back.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So this video on purchasing commercial real estate, we're jumping ahead on how do you determine value and who should purchase commercial real estate. This is a little bit complicated. Harold, how does a bank look at it?
When a bank looks at financing commercial real estate, the potential borrower will often come and say, how much money can I get? And so the bank does some internal calculations as to what our loan to value would be. And I want to emphasize these. I'm going to talk today about the internal way the bank looks at it. What the customer ends up paying for the property, that's really their business. So I'm going to talk about an appraisal. And in my experience, I've read many appraisals, and it is highly recommended that you yourself read the appraisal and just spend some time ingesting what is in that appraisal. Properties tend to get measured in appraisals using 3 methods, and I'm going to talk about the most, from the bank's point of view, the most valuable first, and that's the direct comparison approach. There's some very good appraisers, and they will take examples of similar buildings in a similar area, similar region, and they will look back a year, something like that, and they'll come up with what those properties sold for and why you're paying more or less per square foot than those properties. And they'll go through the individual characteristics of each of those properties, compare them to the property that's the subject of the appraisal, and draw conclusions. And it's a really good experience to go through if you want to understand, how much you're paying per square foot compared to what others paid per square foot. The second approach that an appraisal uses is the income approach. They'll take market rent and they'll come up with a net present value of the cash flow, and they'll apply a cap rate. That is valuable, especially if the market is good, if the rental market is good. If the building is vacant, it's okay to apply a rental rate for sure, but if it's vacant, you don't really have that cash flow there. The third method that they use in a typical appraisal is the replacement cost. That's, in my experience, the least valuable way of valuing a property, because really at the end of the day, a property is worth what you can sell it for. Another part of the appraisal that's really critical is the remaining economic life. The bank asks appraisers to put in the remaining economic life in their estimation, and the bank uses that to compare that against the amortization period for the loan. So it's really good to get a good understanding of what the remaining economic life of that building is. And then finally, for specialty buildings especially, if somebody were to come to the bank and want to finance the construction of a hotel as an example, we'd want to have a feasibility report on that, and that includes a combination of the building and the business that's going into the building, as it's a specialty building. So those are some of the ways that the bank internally comes up with the value of a property when it comes to lending.
Fabulous points. For myself, as an investor or landlord, or even someone that's involved in brokerage and working with my clientele, one of the first pieces of advice that I give my clientele is don't build or purchase your property for yourself. Purchase it for the next guy. Who's coming after you? After you've sold the business, who's going to be occupying that building? That's really important. So you have to have a good realtor that helps you park your ego and helps you understand the long-term feasibility of getting that building leased out. And more importantly, look at point number 2. Who's my new tenant going to be? Is it a Class A tenant? Is it a multinational corporation? Is it a well-financed, provincially located operation? Or is it a mom and pop? Well, obviously the banks look at who your tenant mix is as much as you want to look at who your tenant mix is, because it all comes down to the surety of getting your cash flow. Finally, the last point of, can I expand my property? Does it allow my business to grow without myself interrupting my business operations? Can I acquire the properties next to me? These are all, very important points to consider. So, you want to talk to a smart banker, you want to talk to somebody about what's a property worth, give Harold a call over at CWB. He'll put you in the right direction. And for myself over at Roman Real Estate Services, give us a shout if you have any ideas about commercial real estate. We're happy to talk to you. We turn millionaires into multimillionaires. Please join us again next week on our next video in our series of when is the best time to purchase commercial real estate. Harold, thanks so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Bye-bye.